All right, YouTube. So today's video is very different. And I am pretty sure once I make this video like I made my DSLR video, a lot of people are going to want to copy this and then they're going to write articles like it was their idea. That's what they did with the last one. So if you're here, we're going to talk about the original things that have actually transpired, how we got here, where are we going, that type of thing. So I am going to show you in this video, what are we talking about? We're going to talk about compact disc and a DSLR. What the heck? What do these have to do with anything? By the way, this is Jimmy Buffett, and this was released on MCA Records, not Sony. But the topic of the day is actually not MCA Records, it's actually Sony, the company Sony, on how Sony very craftfully has tried, I'll say they tried to destroy both of these formats, right? And that's what their company believed in, that's what they did. And I'm actually going to give you a little bit of a history lesson for the first at least 4 to 5 minutes so you understand the context of why they cannibalized their A mount and went with the E mount and did what they did, because it's the same exact thing they did to a CD. So a lot of people, let's just get right into it. So a lot of people believe Sony actually made the CD. They didn't. They didn't. It was actually Philips and Sony together that wanted to do this. And they were at each other's throats, 1978, 79, in that time frame. Don't quote me on it. But you can go research all this yourself. They wanted to do a digital format CD, right? And it was a very noble idea. They wanted to do it. Sound quality was awesome. Format was kind of still being decided. We landed with a 120 millimeter disc. That's what this is. Initially, I think Sony had different ideas, and so did Philips on the different sizes, but they ended up on these sizes. And then an executive at Sony said, hey, if we're going to do this, right? By the way, before I get to the executive, the key to all of this was Philips would actually design and do the printing of these things, and actually create the CD, and then Sony would do the air checking and that kind of thing. So they were fine. They were in business together. They both had patents together, and they would get about 6 cents for every single CD that was pressed, that was out there, in addition to all the royalties that Sony actually got from Sony Music and all these other things, right, that were there. So the other thing that Sony looked at out of this, obviously Philips did too initially, but they couldn't touch Sony in this, which was selling a lot of CD players. So they sold, I don't even know, 100 or 200 million CD players. It was insane on how many they sold. So it was a very big business proposition for them. And that, came out in about, I think 82 or 83, somewhere around there is when the first Sony CD player came out. I don't know if that was the world's first. I think it was. But that's the one that came out. So 5, 6 years later, whatever the case might be, there was a different school of thought with these executives. So before they settled on the size of the 120, one of the executives wanted Beethoven, one of Beethoven's symphonies to fit on a CD. It was about 70 some odd minutes long. That's how you get the 74 minutes. The initial one was only 60 minutes of music, right? So that's a little bit of history. So enough of that. An executive at Sony wanted to do something different. Why? Because they figured out that CD is actually it's a death trap, right, for ongoing revenue. And what I mean by that is this format was so perfect. It was already so good. So they figured out that, hey, once I sell it to you, you're not going to be buying anything else. You're done. You got the player, you got these things, and it's not like you can record over it, right? And you can't erase it and all that. So they started to cannibalize their own thing here because they wanted to get to something else, which is, erasable media, removable media, which is, more like volatile type of media where you can actually, erase it and then record something else on top of it. And that's what the MiniDisc and the DAT machines were. DAT was more for the, professional side of the things and studios and this and that. They wanted to control that market. So they would control the licensing, marketing, all of it, right? Soup to nuts, they would own it. And same thing with MiniDisc. And they tried very hard to try to actually destroy CD because they wanted that residual income. That was a big, big failure. MiniDisc is gone. So is, DAT at this point. There are some studios that still use digital audio tape, but not too many anymore. A lot of it is recorded on DASD and other formats today in the music industry. If you're familiar, you'll know what I'm talking about. So they have a long history of doing exactly what I just said. So now let's talk about how this history is so similar to what happened to the DSLR. So Sony, I'm just going to put the CD down. So Sony already had their A-mount cameras, which were their DSLRs. Well, the problem with the DSLR was they knew they couldn't compete. There's no way they were going to be the premier brand known as the king in DSLRs because of Canon and Nikon dominating and destroying everything around it. So what did they do? They launched the E-mount and they cannibalized the A-mount. Very easy to do. Same thing, they're very good at that, right? Cannibalize their own thing, just come up with something new. Hopefully something catches on and it goes, that kind of thing. Same thing happened with Betamax and VHS, same story. You can see this progression and pattern. And why am I sharing this with you? Because I want you to understand one thing from this video. A lot of people think that DSLRs are dead. DSLRs will live longer than most mirrorless cameras that are being made today. And I'll explain that in a second. So they went ahead and they created an E-mount line of cameras. We're going to take the mirror out. You can adapt anything to it. So when they first came out with cameras, hey, Canon and Nikon users, bring your lenses here. You can adapt them. You can use them. You can use Leica lenses. You can do this. You can do that. That's what they did. Marketing again, right? Why? Because they knew one thing for sure, that this format of a DSLR was already perfected. It was already damn good. And it came out every 4 years. Keep that in mind. It was already damn good. And it came out 4 years ago. A new one comes out every 4 years. So what did they do? They wanted to be the disruptors in the market, so they came out with cameras with no mirrors in the damn thing, right? Brilliant. But then what they did is they got cameras out, which were sort of good enough, is what we're so used to today. Rather than getting the most for your money, we just want something that's good enough. And then they came up with the concept, hey, with a firmware update, I can fix everything that I screwed up when I launched it anyway, and or force you to buy a new camera every 6 to 12 months instead of 48 months. Brilliant, smart. So what did they do? Model after model after model after model, if you remember. People were changing mirrorless cameras more than their own underwear. It was crazy. Right? So that's what they did. It was genius. But then, this format is still perfect. And then it took them 10 years. It didn't even take them. It took Canon and Nikon to jump into, yes, the A9, set some, technological breakthroughs for mirrorless cameras. But the thing is the A9 was just getting caught up to the mechanical shutter inside this. Not quite as fast, but it was fast as hell. So it took them 10 years to do all of that, poke the bear with Canon and Nikon, to take something that was already so perfect, had 250 million EF lenses, over 150 million Nikon lenses, and now I'm forced to sell all of that good stuff to go buy this new shiny toy with no mirror in it, right? Which is going to be game-changing with lower dynamic range, all kinds of issues, right? So they started to fix those things one by one. So every firmware update, every iteration of the camera, they kept on inching closer to this perfect technology that was already there. It was already fine. It was already perfect. It didn't need any changing. You can still pick up a DSLR from 10 years ago and you will get damn good results today. Why? Because the technology was perfect out of the box. It didn't have to be perfected with 10 firmware updates later to fix the crap that they should have fixed before they sold you the camera. So, where am I going with this? They will last forever. You know why? If you pay attention to one thing that's happening today, there's a resurgence of CD, there's a resurgence of DSLR. Why is that? Because there were so many other technologies that came and went, including live, streaming audio and all this stuff. There are people that want their CD back. It just sounded better. They want their DSLR back. Colors look better, no issues with using external lighting, this, that. It was a foolproof solution out of the box. The mirrorless solution today, even today, is haphazard because there's no perfect solution out of the box and you have to jerry-rig and break your head trying to make it work. I know Canon has very expensive flash units, so about $1,200 that will do everything for you, but now you're talking about the same flash unit that used to cost you $500 now costs you $1,200. Why? Because they got to recover some of this back, right? You force the bear to actually do all these things. So what did we really achieve? That's what I asked in my DSLR video. What did we really achieve? Not a damn thing. Because the resurgence is for this. There is no resurgence. No one is saying, oh my God, make me an A9 again. Oh my God, make me an A9 II again. They're not. What are they saying? Oh, make me that again that was 30 years ago. Put it in a new, I'll put in all the new tech, but just give me that old body, old this, old that. Then that's how you have all these retro things happening. Why? Because people know that this was the real deal. So people are waking up. People aren't stupid. And these brands are going to suffer trying to get people to move over. I'm not saying mirrorless is bad, guys. I just am trying to get you to understand what Sony did. And if you are a Sony fanboy, you know I shoot Sony. I got so many other products in that room. I'm shooting you, or actually videoing this on a Sony camcorder, professional camcorder. I love Sony for what they are, but they were very cunning and they destroyed a lot of good things to only do one thing, which is run a company. They don't care about photography one bit. Yes, they make some good lenses from time to time. They make some good cameras. They go silent. Then they do really dumb stuff, right? Now there's huge talks about truly separating out their sensor business and breaking it away, which they really should do. Because their, Sony no support that they have, which they call the alpha support, which was useless. I paid for it for 4 years. They didn't do a damn thing for me. They couldn't even send me one camera to even at least try. Oh, it was always at a football game. How many copies you got? 3? I call Canon right now. That shit will be on my doorstep within 24 hours. In a heartbeat. It's crazy. It just blows my mind. But anyway, I'm digressing. So, if you think the DSLR is going to die tomorrow, just because the A7R10 is going to come out tomorrow, you're wrong. Because that A7R10 is going to need 10 different firmware updates to fix the crap that they never fixed. But this guy, how many firmware updates did I have? Not very many. Only for adding a new flash unit or maybe a new trigger or something like that. That's it. They didn't sit there and say, let me fix this menu item. Let me fix this thing because it didn't work right out of the box. None of that. That's why they took 4 years in R&D to make it right. Make it perfect. So when you paid $6,500, $10,000, whatever the heck you paid for those cameras, it was good to go out of the box, and it stayed good to go out of the box for the life of the product. That doesn't exist today. Why? Because we settle for good enough. It's good enough. What's good enough? You're paying the same amount of money. The funny part is you're paying the same exact amount of money for a 1DX Mark III today that you pay for an R1. And they're not built the same. They're not. You're not getting a, leap forward. You would think so because they took all of this stuff out from it. Cost would go down, all kinds of things would happen, but what'd they do? They're not going to do it. Because they know you're good with the good enough and you'll pay for it. So that's what they're doing. Now, are they giving you a ton of technology for the money? Sure, no doubt, they are. Right? Autofocus tracking, this, all of that's there. That's no doubt. Outstanding. But is it really necessary? Maybe. Depending on what you do. We used to deliver everything for our clients with this. Still do. And they pay top dollar. I can shoot it with a mirrorless. They'll still pay me the same amount of money. They're not paying me any more because my technology's gone tenfold more. Is it any better? No. So did we really need to move from a DSLR? No. But this was the brilliance of Sony. That's why they were king in full frame for good 5, 6, 7 years. Guess who's king now? Not anymore, are they? It didn't take long to actually move them down. And I've been saying this for almost a decade now. Once Canon and Nikon get in there, they're going to show you how to do it the right way. Why? Because they're actually photography-based companies. They get it. They know what the professional on the ground, on the sideline really needs. And no, they don't need 45 megapixels. Big mistake on Nikon's part. That D6 was outstanding. They built that Z9. That's great. How many Z9s do you really see on the sidelines of these sports arenas? Some. Right? I mean, the D6 was an incredible camera. They could take that sensor, put it into a mirrorless body, and make a high-speed machine. Actually put it in the same damn body, make it a mirrorless. Even better. If that's the route you want to go. People will buy it. Because a true sports and wildlife photographer does not need 45 megapixel because they've already invested the money in the glass. They're not tinkering around with 800 millimeter f9 lenses. They're not. Right? They have 2.8s and f4 lenses ready to go. Rock and roll, man. So, but we satisfy the hunger of people that really can't afford these things, and that's where the good enough comes in. Is it good enough? Then I have to buy 5 more pieces of software to actually correct the good enough to make it look presentable or maybe good enough. You see the domino effect? I wanted to make this video because I want you to understand every decision you make is going to have an outcome. Absolutely it is. And if you're still willing to dump your really, really good quality DSLR, please do it. Because people like me are just waiting for the right moment to strike to get a hell of a deal. I'll buy these up any day. Because I know that even 15, 20 years from now, this damn thing will run. Because why? I got a 1D Classic that I bought over there for almost, I think it was about $6,600 back then. In 2002. How many years is that? A long time. It still works perfectly. How many firmware updates did it have? Let me think. None. Do you really think that whatever mirrorless camera you have in your hand today, is it going to work 20 to 30 years from now? Ask yourself that question. And if you're having doubts with what the answer is, you know what the answer is. It was already perfect. It didn't need to be changed. But wanted to give you this history because both of these have the same history. And it's the same company that truly tried to destroy both of them and was unsuccessful. So how long is the E-mount gonna last? I don't know. Until Sony finds the new shiny toy, and then all of a sudden they'll probably dump the E-mount for something else like they did with the A-mount. They've done it before, so don't put it past them that will they do it again? They might sell it. They're not a photography company. They're really not, right? And I don't know who's guiding them, but whatever the heck they're building, I don't think they understand what it takes to actually treat people that buy flagships. They obviously treated me like shit after spending so much money with them. You've seen my gear. And this is not a Sony bashing video. It's a Sony reality video. So spend your money wisely. Pick your tools of choice carefully. Pick the brand that you want. Because you know what? The brand does matter, actually. It does. Right? It does. Because if you're looking for something for the longevity as a full-blown system, this is the way to go. Nikon used to be that way. They don't even make their own lighting now, so can't really say it's a full-blown system anymore, end-to-end. You could buy some of their used ones and use it on their DSLRs, no problem, everything will be great. But if you're trying to buy new stuff, you're gonna have a problem with it. And same thing with Sony. Sony is at least making some new flash units, all these different things. They're trying to truly make it into a system. They're smart. But it's very important to understand, what is all this mirrorless hype? It's a marketing ploy to get you to spend more money, and it forced Nikon and Canon to completely change their business. I don't know for the better or not, but I can tell you right now, these were built like tanks, and they're perfect even today. Every shot, just by the sound of the shutter, you know you got the shot. Not that fake going on, you know, in there with the, you know, I don't even know what the hell that sound is in there. Why can't they even put like a realistic shutter sound in there if you're really going to put sound on a mirrorless camera? Might as well just do it. Better yet, why don't you put a real shutter in it? Like the 1DX3, which does 20 frames per second. They won't do that because it takes a lot of engineering behind it to make that happen. So they'll just give you one that'll do 5 or 10 frames per second, good enough, back to good enough again, and call it a day. Just use the electronic shutter, no problem. Who cares if the wing is like this once in a while? It's okay, right? Yeah, that's the difference between a true pro body and not. And I'm not saying the Sony A1, A1 II, Nikon Z9 are not pro bodies, they are. But it's an approach that they've taken that they got to think about. Nikon doesn't even have a mechanical shutter in their Z9. Yeah, a lot of people will argue it all day long. But if you're not doing that kind of work, you will never understand what a mechanical shutter can do. And most people just bought it because, you know, it was the right progression from a D850 to jump to that. That's what they did. But the D850, in my opinion, is still an incredible, incredible machine. And it's a freaking bargain compared to the Z9. It's one of the best built DSLRs ever. It is what it is. But my next video is going to be about a mirrorless camera, because there's a couple of them that we need to talk about because their anniversaries are coming up. So we'll do those. And I'm excited to do those. I do use a lot of my mirrorless cameras. They are fantastic. But I wanted to give you this little bit of history and how Sony did a nice job trying to destroy both. But it didn't happen. So MiniDisc is gone, and DSLRs are still here and actually on a rebound now, just because of the bang up job that Mirrorless has done, right? It's forcing people back to really truly go back and get the taste of photography again, because it's become tasteless. Holding down, getting 40 frames, okay, great. Now, what's the excitement of that? Nothing. If you're getting paid to get one of those shots out of the 40, fine, I get it. It's for a job. It's good. You're not in the picture making process like I've been saying. You're in the picture taking business, not making. So if you're in the taking business, Mirrorless is the way to go. If you're in the picture making business, try DSLR and your world will actually change. You will actually truly do photography for once. Not saying that you can't with Mirrorless, you can. It just takes more discipline. So go out there and do it. Go out there and actually share this video with others. I'm pretty sure many are going to copy it. So look for those. You'll get a lot of, you know, people that can't come up with original content. But I wanted to share this for many years, this video, and just had to do a little bit of history review for myself before actually making the video on the CD side of the house. But Sony did not invent the CD. It was really Philips. And around the same time, you had Toshiba, I think it was Hitachi, maybe JVC, and maybe even, I don't think Pioneer was into it back then, but they were all trying to come up with their own digital format at that time. But looks like this is the one that won, because you had the backing of Sony and Philips, two large giants that made it happen, and that's why we have this beautiful medium called CD, compact disc. So if you have your compact disc player, don't dump it. Guess what? It's going to be worth a lot one day, because you know what? People are going to want the real deal eventually. So with that, like, subscribe, be nice to each other, go out there, create your magic, and enjoy your weekend. And maybe listen to a CD and go shoot a DSLR, and maybe have a throwback weekend. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Thanks.